Always a good conversation with the good mayor of Knox County. He is Glenn Jacobs, and he joins the Matt Murphy Show right now. Hey, Glenn, how are you?
Hey, Matt, how are you?
Man, I'm fabulous. Couldn't be better. It's going to be a long, hot summer if we let some of these protests keep going. What are your thoughts on this? I mean, I don't.
Yeah. Well, they're not protests, Matt. I mean, there's a difference between protesting and riots and just being violent. And I put on Twitter this morning that the far left, they don't care about any of this stuff. They don't care about LGBT people. They don't even care about illegal immigrants. What they care about is destroying America, and this is just another symptom of that, in my opinion.
Do you think that we would see any of this come to the state of Tennessee? And what would your reaction be as Knox County mayor if it happened to, what happens if it comes to Knox County?
Well, I don't know about you guys over in Nashville. I don't anticipate it happening in Knox County, and our police aren't going to put up with it. Our KPD and our sheriff's department or office just wouldn't put up with it. So, that's one of those deals when people ask, I do kind of, I don't want to take it lightly, obviously, but at the same time, like when we had the Summer of Love, nothing really happened here because our police do such a great job, and they're just not going to tolerate those sort of things. So, and that's so much of it, as you set the expectation, if you break something, you're going to go to jail. And unfortunately, they don't do that in California. In fact, they reward people who break stuff, and look what you get.
No, that's right. Unfortunately, it is the case. And for me, I'm thinking if you are this passionate about this singular issue, the American system of government provides you a remedy. Win elections, cast votes, pass new laws, and there you go. Yeah.
Well, as I said, this is not about anything other than destroying this country, and I believe that it all goes down to, it really is it's a battle between really communism and free market. And the people who engage in this sort of activity, this criminal activity, they hate the country, they hate the free market, they hate freedom. They're envious of anyone who has anything more than they do, people who have worked for those things. And unfortunately, what happens is they use identity politics really as an excuse, as a tactic to perpetrate these sort of crimes. And it's one of the things I wish that the folks that are being used as pawns, in this case, illegal immigrants and folks who sympathize with that, I wish that they would understand, this doesn't have anything to do really with that. This is just, another reason to go out and burn stuff up and cause as much chaos as possible.
Well, when you have, and I think you're dead on, Mayor Glenn Jacobs is with us on the phone. I think you're dead on. When you have organizations like Antifa, the Free Palestine movement, which is an anti-Semitic movement, an anti-Jewish movement, when you have these open borders people coming together with radical Muslims, the one thing that they have in common is that they hate the country that they are in. And and so they come together rallying against the country that grants them the very freedoms to rally together and to quote unquote protest. Right. It's just it's insanity to me.
Exactly right. And we can just lay this all at the feet of the public officials out in California. I mean, when you nurture this kind of environment, you're going to reap what you sow. And this is what they sowed, so it shouldn't be any again, we don't see these sort of things happening in Knox County. You're going to see it maybe in Nashville, but not nearly to this extent, right? But where do you see it? Oregon, California. You see what the places that encourage it, and you don't see it in the places where it's just not tolerated, where it's discouraged.
There's an interesting story that I wanted to talk with you about, and you and I communicated a little bit about it offline. That is unique to Knox County, but I think it's emblematic of what is going on all over the country with regard to governance. And I just want your take on what's happening over there with this youth detention center. Can you catch us up with this story? There's a youth detention center. Richard Bean is the superintendent of this juvenile detention center. There are scandals that have gone on about this center. I don't know enough about it to say anymore, except tell me what's happening, Mayor.
Right. So what's happened is there's been issues at the youth detention facility here in Knox County for years. There's really nothing that I could do about it until Mr. Bean, who has been there for 50 years, he's the only superintendent that the facility's ever had. He fired his nurse and an IT person basically for cooperating with state investigators, which obviously is a huge no-no. And at that point, I was able to get involved because now you're talking about a lawsuit that's going to impact the county. You know, it was governed by a three-member voting board, which we didn't have no oversight, really nothing to do with. So basically, I went public with this whole thing, and we're putting some changes into motion there, which I'm really happy about, and they're going to be positive. One thing that we want to do is we want to put the sheriff over the day-to-day operations of this facility like they are in most of the other counties in the state of Tennessee. But what's been amazing to me is you have people like State Rep Sam McKenzie who have now come out and said, well, we don't want to do that because the sheriff blah, blah, blah. Fascinating that when Sam McKenzie was on county commission, where he actually had the ability to do something about this, he was on county commission 2008, 2016, he twice voted to reappoint members to this board. No discussion that we can find, no anything. Now he turns around and he says that people like me who have brought this to the public attention, we're trying to sweep it under the rug, that this is the good old boy network at work. And dude, you had the ability to do something about this back in the day. Now you're criticizing the people who are trying to do something about it simply because of partisan politics and grandstanding. And if you ask me, that's what's wrong with America. That's what's wrong with the Democrat Party right now.
Right. So you step in, you're trying to affect change because you recognize a problem, and you get criticized for doing so by the very people that prevented change happening years ago, like McKenzie.
Exactly, yes. Instead of standing up when he was on county commission and saying this is a problem, we need to do something about it, just reappoints people. We couldn't find anything in the minutes of these commission meetings where he'd said anything negative had really addressed the issue. Now, fast forward to where I have made this public. It was me that did that, right? You know, I put a video out. I talked to the media. I talked to the governor. And he is saying that we're trying to sweep it under the rug by an agreement with the sheriff in which the sheriff would run the facility, even though that's how it's done in almost every county across the state. You know, so if you don't want to be part of the solution, when you have the ability to do that, you know, that's one thing, okay. But then don't turn around and literally attack the people who are trying to solve the problem. And that's what we're seeing here.
What specifically would you identify as the problem, Glenn? Is it just simply time for new leadership in your estimation? Has this fellow been there for far too long?
Sure. It's time for new leadership. I think what happened is the board was captured by Mr. Bean. Over the years, Mr. Bean has done some really good work. Unfortunately, he just stayed way too long. So you need new leadership, and also there's this lack of oversight. It's a structural issue. It's one of those anomalies of state law that, you kind of dig into it. We're the only county in the state, I think, that's structured like this. It was a private act from 1972 that created all of this. Mm-hmm. And you have to scratch your head over why any of this was done. But yeah, it's a combination of lack of oversight by county commission, by my office. We just have the ability to provide that oversight legally, as well as leadership that had just gone on way too long and needed to change.
Have you talked to Bean? Does anybody get a chance to speak with him to get his side of it, or is he pretty quiet about all of this?
He's been quiet since this all came about. I know he actually he kind of answers to our juvenile court judge, who is great, but at the same time, he kind of doesn't answer to him. It's one of those situations where there's very ill-defined structure and hierarchy. I know that Judge Irwin over here, again, who is great, does a wonderful job. He's said many things to the board that was the governing authority of this needs to happen. You all need to think about this. You all need to do that. And all those things were just kind of brushed aside. And I think at the end of the day, Mr. Bean had he'd gotten very comfortable with where he was, and essentially no one was questioning him on the board because they were all friends, essentially. And it ended up being a fiefdom. And unfortunately, this is what happens when you get in those situations, and then there's really no one provide oversight for that.
And even with his leaving, it's my understanding that you're asking commissioners to pass. You want to dismantle this board.
Yes. Yeah. The board has just outlived its usefulness, if it ever had any to begin with.
Where should the oversight lie? I mean, it doesn't seem like it should lie with this secretive board here.
No, it should not. It should actually, again, what we would like to see is the sheriff take over the day-to-day operations. Ultimately, the Department of Children's Services is the regulatory agency, but we would also like to establish more oversight from county commission, which is what we're trying to do.
You would think that leftists like Sam McKenzie would applaud you, Glenn. You would think that they would thank you for. I mean, if they care about what they deem to be a problem over the years, you would think that they would thank you for that, or they would apologize for not getting something done sooner when they had the ability to do it.
Well, and again, this partisan politics gets in the way, and you'd rather criticize the sheriff, even though you don't understand the situation. You don't realize that, for instance, our detention facility it's a completely different oversight agency. It's the Tennessee Institute of Corrections that oversees our detention facility, which is the adult facility. It is the division of our Department of Children's Services, which oversees the juvenile detention center. They're two completely separate things, but they get lumped in together. Mm-hmm. And I think it also goes back to this, really the left just doesn't like law enforcement and will do anything that they can to cast law enforcement in a bad light.
Well, speaking of detention, I mean, it just brings it up in my head. Are you observing, what's going down at Trousdale? Have you seen any of this? I know it's maybe outside of your radar, but boy, oh boy.
Yeah, a little bit. We've been dealing so much with this issue here that I haven't really, I know they've had some problems there, obviously, but I haven't been able to pay, I'm not up to speed like I would be.
Well, look, best of luck in your efforts over there. I know, I got a lot of, every time we have you on, Mayor, every time, Glenn, I get the same thing. And on the super text line, it's blowing up. How did we get Freddie O'Connell and Knoxville get Glenn Jacobs?
Well, I'm just, this is a great area here in East Tennessee, and I'm just very happy to be mayor here. I don't think I could do it a lot of other places because, my values would not align with other places, but they certainly align with here in East Tennessee.
Do you remember, by the way, in your past, do you remember classy Freddie Blassie?
Yeah,
as a wrestler? Yeah. He, I've nicknamed Freddie Pencil Neck Geek because of the song that Freddie Blassie did years ago.
Sure. Well, I don't have an answer for that. Obviously, it would be wonderful if every city and county across our nation was well run. I think that I concentrate very much on the business of Knox County. And I have my political ideology, my political thoughts, but the most important thing is running Knox County as efficiently as possible. That's what I owe the taxpayers. And I think in a lot of places around the country, the liberal ideology takes precedent over doing the good business that local government should be doing.
Well, here's the deal. The reason that I wanted to have you on, I know that it's a local story out of Knox County, and I know that maybe over here in Nashville and in Middle Tennessee, it doesn't seem to impact us, but it strikes at the heart of a couple of things. One, that there are still public servants like yourself that want to draw transparency and light to situations involving the public and the public trust. Number two, it demonstrates the hypocrisy of the political left, as you and I talked about offline, that these same liberal Democrats that had an ability to do something about this and didn't are now criticizing the people that are doing something about it, namely you.
You see the Democrats in our General Assembly, and they're all about activism. They're all about grandstanding. They're not about getting the work done and serving the people of Tennessee. And the people of Tennessee, frankly, deserve better.
Love it. Thank you, Mayor. We appreciate you. Come by and see us when you're in Nashville next time, okay?
Thanks, man. Have a great day.